PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
It's Kim versus TC in the battle of the lists.
My list is better.
My list is better.
My list is better.
No, it's not. My list is better.
Kim or TC, who has the better list? From Subject Cinema, this is Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and TC Kirkham.
Hey everybody, it's 2018 and we're welcoming you back to Front Row 5 and 10. I'm Kim Brown.
I'm TC Kirkham. That's not your usual opening, but that's fine.
No, but it's 2018.
It's lists for 2018.
Yes, we're back.
We're back
Yay.
a couple of days later. We had planned to get on a couple of weeks ago, but we just had this other project that we're going crazy, which you'll find out about in the very near future.
Mm-hmm.
So, lists for 2018.
Yes.
You left with an interesting choice.
I did. So I decided that our
Which is
first...
a lot harder than we thought.
Yeah, I was like, this is gonna. I was like, this is gonna be so easy, and then I was like, no, it's not. Oops. Oh well. The list that I decided we should do this week is we were each going to give our top 10 list of our favorite musicals.
Movie musicals.
Movie musicals, yes. So I was like,
so define
excited.
movie musical then, as you see
It's a movie with music in
Well,
it. No. A movie musical can be, in my opinion, it can mean several different things. It can be your typical Hollywood musical where you have people
break into song
Yes.
for no apparent reason.
I'm the mailman, and I'm delivering your mail, that kind of thing, where people all of a sudden start dancing and singing down the street, which never happens in real life, or if they did, they'd come and take you away.
Like you just did.
Well, yes, The sad thing is, I would do that if I thought they wouldn't come take me away. I also consider a movie musical...
I wonder if anyone's ever thought about building a movie around that song.
What?
They're coming to take me away, haha.
Considering all of the backlash you'd get from people who would be like, you're making fun of mental health issues, I'm offended!
Well, I mean, spoof, as a spoof, like a Mel Brooks thing. Oh, well, anyway.
If this ever happens, we want a cut. So anyway, the other kind of movie musical, as far as I'm concerned, is something where you have a big musical performance in the film, or you have
gotta be more than one. That's not a musical.
More than one performance where music really plays heavily into the film.
Okay.
Where you have people that are in a band, or someone who's a singer, or something like that.
I have one on my list that I think you're going to question, but I think...
It's your list, I'm not...
But I know, but I mean, it's not something you'd normally think of as a musical.
Well, okay.
So... Actually, I should have had two.
And, well, what's your qualification for why stuff made your list?
Exactly.
Thank you.
What you just said. That makes perfect sense to me.
Okay.
Those are the two things that
But
basically
what I'm
I went
saying, why did these movies... I mean, there's tons of
These are movies that I really enjoy
Uh-huh,
watching, that I love the music from, that are well made, well acted, well performed, and just generally well done, period.
Yeah. For me, the reason that the movies made my list... is if it's a musical that the second you sing a song from it, I know what that is. the fact that I still sing songs from this, or just the simple fact that something about either the music in the movie or the movie itself touched my heart. Because music,
not all musicals would be necessarily sung, though.
Huh?
I'll explain that when I get to my runners-up.
Okay, that was incredibly vague. But music is very important to the both of us. You know, we're very musical people. So this was really a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I actually have something very rare for me. I very rarely do this. You know that.
She has a long list of runners-up.
No, I don't have a long list of runners-up. I have a list of runners-up, which is, I very rarely do that.
Right.
So since I'm the one that came up with the idea, you should go first.
All right. First of all, I considered everything that I had seen, and the following musicals are all, I don't know whether I'd consider them runners-up, but they all were in my train of thought when I was thinking of this that did not make my top 10.
Okay.
Mary Poppins, Fame, Rock of Ages, Chicago, Once, Across the Universe, The Rocky Horror Picture Show, Newsies, Sweeney Todd, and Pina. Pina is a musical of dance.
Yeah, I would give you that.
Because dancing is the big thing, but every dance has to have a song.
Yeah, I would give you that. I mean,
she didn't like Pina when we saw it.
You could dance without music. I mean, it would look like you're having a fit, but
All right.
And no, I didn't like Pina. No, I didn't like it.
No, you didn't like it.
No, there was some stuff that made me uncomfortable.
I gave it an A or an A+. She gave it like a C. I'm like, are you kidding?
I was just sitting there. When is this gonna be over? But
I thought it was fascinating.
Anyway, so
all right.
You're number 10.
You want to do your runners up first?
No,
okay.
You should do your.
My number 10 is probably close to my heart because of the generation I grew up in. I'm not sure if today's kids see it as much on DVD, although it's out there and it's on cable all the time. But there's nothing like the thrill of seeing it in the big screen. Kim would say the same thing because she'd never seen it on the big screen until, I don't know, 2008, 2009, when the Coolidge ran it and we went in to see it. And it was a lot of fun. Number 10, 1970s Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, starring Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka, filled with the music of Anthony Newley and Leslie Bricusse, I think that's how you say it, including the pop standard Pure Imagination. We heard a cover of that by somebody recently that was just terrible. I forgot who it was by.
Yeah.
But it's the story, right? Well, Roald Dahl said he didn't think it had anything to do with the book, but I think the book is pretty well covered there. There's aspects that have been tweaked and changed for the big screen, but it's still a great movie.
Considering what he thought of that movie, I think he would have had heart failure about the Johnny Depp version.
Which was actually more faithful to the book.
In certain respects.
And added stuff to it. Mm-hmm. But it's like, Gene Wilder is great as Willy Wonka. This also gave us Jack Albertson as Charlie's grandfather, Grandpa Joe, and Peter Ostrom, who's now a dentist, as
I think
Charlie.
He's a vet, isn't he?
Vet. Yeah, he's a vet. Sorry. Yeah. He's a vet as Charlie. Plus a bunch of younger performers, the best known of which was probably Denise Nickerson, who went on to be on the Electric Company for a number of years as Allison. There's all these great songs and great moral tales. The thing about the songs and the Oompa Loompa songs in this movie, they could all be episodes of Filmation cartoons. And if you get that, you're a child of the 70s. Number 10, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah. And of course the song "The Candyman," which was
well, the Candyman, it's that's there too. But I've never been that fond of that song.
Yeah.
Even though Sammy Davis Jr., who hated it when he had a hit with it, it was the biggest hit of his career. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was interesting.
Okay, so my list, here we go. The runners-up on my list are Chicago, Grease, Frozen, and The Little Mermaid. I love the...
I didn't think of that. I
love Poor Unfortunate Souls from The Little Mermaid because, let's face it, with the body I've got, I am born to play
You
Ursula.
can put Frozen on mine, too, because I'd forgotten about that. That's true. That is sort of a musical.
My number 10 is a big screen adaptation of a play. And I loved the play. I loved the musical. I remember seeing that on cable and thinking, wow, this is really effed up and totally awesome. And when I heard they were doing it as this big screen movie, I was like, okay, this should be interesting, considering I like everybody involved. And then we saw it. Unfortunately, we saw it too late for the Poppies and Rosies the previous year.
Yeah.
Because I would have given it a bleep ton of awards. My number 7 is my number 10 from 2007 is Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
You liked it a lot better than I did, although I love the music. I thought the music was better than the movie.
Directed by Tim Burton, starring Johnny Depp, Helena Bonham Carter, Alan Rickman, Timothy Spall, Sacha Baron Cohen, and Jamie Campbell Bower. It's everybody knows the story of Sweeney Todd, and it's such an amazing film. The songs are absolutely wonderful. A song like Pretty Women or Joanna. Jamie Campbell Bower's voice in Joanna is just
He was
so
the discovery
beautiful.
that came out of that, and it was on the Rising Stars list the following year as a result.
His voice is so beautiful in that. The duet that goes on in the reprise of Pretty Women with Johnny Depp and Alan Rickman as the loathsome Judge Turpin is absolutely amazing. And any movie where Sacha Baron Cohen's character gets his throat slit. Yay! Just kidding, Sasha. I know you're probably a very nice person in real life, but your character was a jerk.
Not what I heard.
So my number 10 is Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
My number 9 is the oldest musical on my list. It is also one of the most revered and the one that everybody in our generation grew up watching every year around Easter time on CBS. 1939's The Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
Judy Garland, Ray Bolger, Bert Lahr, and why can't I think of the other person?
Who?
Jack Haley. I couldn't think of the name of the 10 men. And Margaret Hamilton, off to Oz to try and get back to Oz when Dorothy lands there after being picked up by a tornado in Kansas and dropped in the middle of the Technicolor world of Oz. Somewhere Over the Rainbow is a classic. There are a lot of other great songs in there too. I know that this was one of the hardest shoots in Hollywood history up to that point because they had so much trouble with the people playing the Munchkins. They were debauchery and all kinds of things went on when that movie was being made. Not to mention
Buddy Ebsen almost losing his life.
Buddy Ebsen had to drop out of the film because he had a severe allergic reaction to the silver metal paint that they were using for the 10 Men. He was replaced by Jack Haley. And it's just a beautiful film to look at, even though you can tell there's like a painting in the background.
Yeah, who cares?
And stuff.
It's an awesome looking painting.
It is. It's
go with that. You know.
And the songs are classics to kids. Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead, Follow the Yellow Brick Road, the Wizard of Oz theme, and like I said, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And at that point, a very realistic looking tornado, considering they did it with a wind sock. Not digital CGI like they did on stuff like Twister and Into the Storm. It's really well looking. Number 9, The Wizard of Oz.
Okay. Number 8 was a film that the biggest complaint.
Number 9.
What did I say? Number 8. I'm so sorry. I'm off today on my numbers. Number 9 on my list. The biggest complaint I have about this film is that it wasn't pushed hard enough by the studio when it was released here, so not enough people saw it, and that is a crime, because this film is amazing. My number 9 from 2016, Sing Street. What a find. An absolute buried treasure of a movie that not enough people saw, and it pisses me off. Sing Street is the story of a young man named Cosmo growing up in Dublin in the mid-'80s. Well, Cosmo's not his real name. His real name is Connor. To try and gain the attention of a young lady, he tells her that he has a band and asks if she'd like to be in his video. When she says yes, then he needs to do the next part of his plan, form a band.
And put together a song.
Form a band, put together a song, get the video together, and he'll get the girl. Simple, right? This is all going on in the background of his parents' failing marriage, him having to change schools, and all kinds of other things, and just being a teenager in the mid-'80s. And trust me, I've been there, done that. Such an incredible film. The song "Drive It Like You Stole It" is written, tattooed into my heart now because of this film.
And you hate Hall & Oates. And that's what it's obviously based on Maneater and stuff like that particular song. So it's like...
I guess. I don't know. I thought it was just beautiful. I love that song to pieces. There's so many other beautiful songs in the film, including Up. And the soundtrack has all these great 80s songs on it that reminded me just how effing old I am. But just this incredible movie. If you haven't seen it, if we haven't pounded it into your skulls enough, see it, seek it out. I don't care how you do it. My number 9, Sing Street.
My number 8 is the film that launched what is now known popularly as the jukebox musical. This is where they take... I mean, there have been other ones beforehand, but none of them had been this successful, where they take music of a particular artist and weave a song around it, or weave a show around it.
Would it be accurate to say the first Broadway show that did that was Jersey Boys? Would that be accurate? Or no?
I'm just saying.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This is the first.
That's the first.
This
one.
is the first major one around a single act. Although there were ones in the 80s. Leader of the Pack was all based on the music of Carole King and Jerry Goffin, and so on and so forth. But it was Mamma Mia that took everyone by storm. And Mamma Mia, the movie, is just hilarious from beginning to end. Set on an island off of Greece, I think, somewhere. Donna has never told her daughter Sophie who her father is. But she's figured out that it's one of 3 men. And she invites all 3 of them to her wedding, setting off a chain of events, and hilarity ensues. And the one bad thing about Mamma Mia is some of the music is completely and utterly trashed by the inability to sing by some of the cast.
Thank you, Simon Cowell.
But Pierce Brosnan aside,
oh my God, that's so rude.
I have no problem with Pierce as an actor. As a singer, I have no problem with Pierce as an actor. The great cast includes Meryl Streep, Christine Baranski, Julie Walters as Meryl as Donna, Julie Walters and Christine Baranski as her best friends, Amanda Seyfried as her daughter Sophie, and the 3 men in question are played by Pierce Brosnan, Colin Firth, and Stellan Skarsgård. I didn't know he could sing either. It's a delight. It's fun. It's set to the wonderful music of ABBA, if you didn't guess that by now. And there is a sequel coming out this year, which scares me after seeing the trailer. And I'm like, okay. It is a classic, both the Broadway version and the music version. And I don't remember. We went to see it the day after it came out because it opened the same day as The Dark Knight Rises, right? Or The Dark Knight, one of the two of them.
It opened the same. It opened the same weekend as that was 2008, so that would have been
Dark Knight,
the Dark Knight,
the original one. And it was like, wow, this was just so much fun because we had a bunch of friends that had seen the play. We hadn't seen the show and loved it.
On my list is actually, this is a film that I've actually been in a stage production of, so it's got that going for it.
It has to be one of 4 things.
My number 8 is from 1972, Cabaret. An amazing, it's a very wonderful movie based, there's a stage play as well, which is a little different. There are some actually big plot point differences and added characters and whatnot, but that's what happens when you do a play. You transport a play to the big screen. Some stuff gets added, some stuff gets dropped.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when I get up a little further up in the list.
Directed by Bob Fosse, starring Liza Minnelli, Michael York, and Joel Grey, who picks up every single scene he's in and walks off with it.
Well, that's because Joel Grey originated the character in the Broadway show.
Playing Joel as the master.
Joel freaking Grey.
Yeah.
He's a freaking Broadway legend.
Yep.
Give him...
We're not worthy. Joel Grey is the master of ceremonies at the Kit Kat Club in Berlin in 1931. This is an amazing film.
It's set that early?
Yes.
Way back when it was first coming together.
Yes,
then.
it's set before
Wow.
the Nazis rise.
I've never seen Cabaret, I'll be honest,
It's set
all the way through.
before the Nazis rise to power. Just before.
Right.
There are some extremely fantastic songs in this, including, obviously, Liza Minnelli's, world-stopping Cabaret. I mean, everybody has to
Kim
stop.
Kim does a great job at karaoke, and everybody says so.
Oh, stop.
It's one of her specialties, actually.
That's so nice. But, I mean, you have to stop and listen when she does that. But I want to bring up another song that it's so powerful and very disturbing when you look back at the implications of it. There's a scene in a beer garden where, people just drinking and doing the whole thing. And we see this young man, singing this song, which is called Tomorrow Belongs to Me. And it sounds like it's just this nice kind of pretty little song and it doesn't really seem to be anything special about it. Until the camera pans down and you see what this young man is wearing. He's wearing the uniform of the Hitler Youth. And as he keeps singing, the song kind of swells and the people around him start singing along. And the last couple of lines of the song are, I'm doing this from memory, so give me a break. Oh, fatherland, fatherland, give us a sign the world has been waiting to see. Tomorrow may come when the world is mine, tomorrow belongs to me. And by the end of the song, the kid's got the Hitler Youth cap on, and he's got his hand up in the Nazi salute, and it's all incredibly ominous. It starts off very fluffy and like, oh, this is nice, and by the end of it, you as the audience are sitting there going, oh, this is really bad.
Yeah.
There is such an incredible film. Like I said, there were things that were taken out of the film, out of the play when they did it as a film. Things like the song Money Makes the World Go Round, which is so famous from the movie, is actually not in the play. There's a song similar in the play, but not quite.
Which they probably did to make sure they got assured for a Best Song Oscar nomination.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. There's a song in the play called Sitting Pretty, which is basically the same song. It's really a very powerful film, and the end shot is extremely disturbing. Because it's a shot inside the club, and you can see most of the people in the club are wearing Nazi uniforms. It's very disturbing. We did this in college, and then one of the scenes I was in culminated with me in a stripper cap with a stripper cape and a Viking helmet. Don't ask. The problem was the floor we were doing a lot of the dance numbers on had a tilt to it, so that wasn't fun.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I didn't have a lot of dancing to do, so that was nice. I did have to pick up the MC at one point, and they were like, can you pick him up? I'm like, I can bench press him if you want me to. They're like, no, don't do that. I'm like, I could just do an Ultimate Warrior.
There are videos of Kim's shows floating around. We need to get those again.
I mean, I was like, I can Ultimate Warrior if you want. I'll hold them over my head. They're like, no, Kim, don't do that.
We can share them with the world.
Oh, that's I don't think anyone needs to see that.
I think they need to see you as Jewel in Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Kim has this penchant for landing roles played by large black women in the films.
I don't understand that.
And on Broadway, too, because there's Teresa Merritt and Queen Latifah and a number of... It's like, okay.
It's weird.
Anyway, my number 7, this is one of those films that is weird because it's a remake. But the remake was a musical and the original wasn't. There's 2 of those on my list.
Okay.
This particular one is a remake of one of the greatest comedies of all time from 1968. This version has all modern people in it, but I'll tell you why I love it in a second. We have producers.
That's also my number 7. Number
7 on your list too?
And it was 2005.
With Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane playing the roles made famous by Gene Wilder and Zero Mostel in the original. Both films produced by Mel Brooks, the musical directed by Susan Stroman. This movie kills me. And it's not just because the music is great, but what they've done with the infamous Springtime for Hitler stuff, which is not a musical in the original show.
No.
There are parts of it that are musicals, right? Because they still have that crazy opening number.
They have it. Yes, they have a big opening, splashy musical number, the Springtime for Hitler number. But
Gary
most
Beach
of it's not a musical,
is
no.
absolutely the best scene stealer in the history of musical movies. Gary plays director Roger DeVries in this. And he ends up in this comedy of errors on stage in the lead role in the play he's directing, Springtime for Hitler, which is not what happens in the original.
No.
And he is hilarious. Obviously, it's implied all the way through, just as it was in the original, that Roger and his assistant, Carmen Gia,
his live-in assistant,
Carmen Gia, who is delightfully played by the always. They are so funny. Whenever they're on screen, they're hilarious. And of course, they're obviously lovers. They're not, dancing all the way around it, but it's not like it's.
And then thumping over the head.
When you have a song with "Keep It Gay," you kind of know what it is.
Yeah.
But his performance as Hitler in Springtime for Hitler is freaking hilarious. I can put that on my Spotify on any given morning or on the way home from work when I've had a bad day, and I'm in hysterics by the time I'm done because I'm thinking of the movie. It's very Judy Garland performance, and it's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
And everybody's great in this. There's also Uma Thurman, Will Ferrell in a role that I can actually tolerate him in. Who else is in this? John Lovitz and a few other people. And it's just a delight. What do you like it? Why is it number 7 on your list?
It's number 7 on my list.
We also love the original.
Yeah, we both love the original. This is one of the most screamingly funny things that Mel Brooks has ever done. And considering all of Mel Brooks', roster of incredible films, that's saying a lot. Because I love the original producers. I love this one just a scotch more. Amazingly
Me too.
enough.
I like the musical slightly better too. Mostly because of Roger Bart.
Nathan Lane is Max Bialystock and Matthew Broderick as Leo Bloom are just amazing together. Uma Thurman as their receptionist and later female lead in the play, Inga, whose entire name I'm not, Ula. Ula Ingen, and we're not going to say the rest of it because we'll be here all day. Miss Thurman has a solo in the play in the musical called "When You Got It, Flaunt It," and I
didn't know she could sing until then. Yeah,
what a revelation! I was like, what? I didn't know she could. She can sing and wield a katana. So apparently, Uma Thurman is the person that I want to be when I grow up. Okay, whatever. I also want to bring up something that I hope my Torchwood and Doctor Who buddies out there, hey.
Oh yeah, John Barrowman has.
Yes, John Barrowman is the lead tenor stormtrooper in the Springtime for Hitler, and it's very odd to see him in that uniform. Number one, it's even odder to see him with striking blonde hair. I was like, okay, and. I am definitely...
Well, Roger Bart, when you see Roger Bart, he does television all the time. He's in SV, anything produced in New York, he's probably done at least once.
He's done at least one episode.
We first knew him
as
playing Cousin Kevin in the first tour company of Tommy when we first saw him.
I kicked myself for that we didn't get his autograph or whatever.
Yeah, he's just, you don't even recognize him in this film. He's so... in the Carmen
Gay is one of these, oh my gosh.
It's one of those most offensive and absolutely hilarious songs you've ever heard.
You sit there and you're like, only Mel Brooks could get away with this. Will Ferrell plays Franz Liebken, the former Nazi, I don't know if you're ever a former Nazi, but whatever, who has actually written this opus. Springtime for Hitler. In the original producer's film, that part was played by the late, great character actor Kenneth Mars, one of my favorites.
And we should mention on the original, you can't get any different than Gary Beach and Dick Shawn.
Oh, yeah,
Dick Shawn. Well, yeah, Will Ferrell was supposed to play it in the movie.
Right. Well, Christopher Hewitt actually played Roger De Vries.
But I'm saying Gary Beach ended up playing Hitler on stage, and it was in the other film. They didn't have the substitution. It was Dick Shawn.
It was Dick Shawn who played a character with the nickname LSD.
Right. Those were initials.
Yes, it was Lysander something. Anyway, it is just an achingly funny movie. There are some wonderful musical numbers, and it's a scream. It's one of
those movies that Matthew Broderick actually doesn't annoy me in.
Yay? I don't know where else we're going.
Matthew
with
Broderick
that,
is a great actor, but sometimes he plays the characters that just annoy the hell out of me. And this was not one of them. I enjoyed him immensely in that.
Okay. So your number 7 and my number 7 is The Producers from 2005. That's just funny.
My number 6 is a little bit of a different direction to go.
Okay.
It's a documentary, and it's a little bit weird to think of a documentary as a musical until you actually sit down. You'll agree with me when you hear what it is.
Okay.
When you sit down and you think about it. Because the entire point of the documentary is highlighting the music of one city. And it is amazing.
That's a really good choice.
My number 6 is the marvelous documentary Passione, directed by John Turturro, all about the music of Naples. And it is fantastic. It was a little tiny film. It came and went here at the Kendall for like a week.
It definitely qualifies as a passion project,
yeah.
I would say.
Turturro has an enormous following as a director. People know him as the bumbling agent, whatever his name was in the Transformers movies.
Yeah.
But here,
for people that watch the blockbuster stuff, serious film, people know him from like Barton Fink and movies like that.
Yeah, plus they know him as a director and a writer. And in this movie, which he does they make music videos out of local songs that are well known, as well as actually featuring other local artists with their stuff. I've never been made to want to go to a city before that I didn't know that much about until I saw this film. I'm like, we have got to get to Naples sometime. It's like, wow, this is just going to be something special.
So we got to go to Naples for the music, and wherever Hero Dreams of Sushi set for the food.
Tokyo.
For Tokyo.
Yeah, and then now we got to go to Istanbul for all the cats.
For the cats, yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's a beautiful film, and if you've never seen it, it's worth taking the time to seek out.
It definitely is.
Featuring performances by Turturro and some of his normal stock players, which include Max Casella and a few of the other people in it. It's just terrific. You'll come out of it with a smile on your face and thinking, wow, I need to get tickets to Italy right away.
Seriously.
My number 6, Passione. I believe it was from 2009. I didn't look it up.
My number 6 is a film you've already mentioned. 1939's The Wizard of Oz. A film that when I was a young girl, every year, like you mentioned, it was on at Easter time, and it was like, my mom was always like, oh, we should, let's all sit and watch a family,
mine
blah,
too.
blah, blah. And I remember being like, 7 or 8 and being like sneering at it and being like, nah.
Really?
Yeah.
I used to look forward to it every year. I loved it.
Being like, this is kids stuff, I'm
excuse me.
More like 9 or 10, I was like,
oh, la-ti-da.
Well, you're at that age where you're thinking you're too grown up for that kind of stuff, and I'm like, now that I'm not 9 or 10 anymore, I definitely...
Not by a long shot.
Shut up. I think it's a beautiful film. We were lucky enough to see it on the big screen.
Yes, we went a few years ago when it was at the Coolidge again. With our friends Jen and Stacy, who dressed up as Dorothy and the Scarecrow.
Yes, we dressed up as people who weren't with them.
Jen's Dorothy outfit. Jen is obsessed with the Wizard of Oz and Judy Garland in particular, and she was she looked magnificent.
She looked great, and Stacy looked great.
Stacy made a good Scarecrow.
She did.
And the little kids that were there to see the film were just freaking all over them.
Yeah,
they loved
really
every second of it.
It is a beautiful film. The story is just, an age-old classic, and the songs are just wonderful. Somewhere Over the Rainbow is such a beautiful song. It's been covered by
80 billion artists.
A billion people. But I'm sorry, and everyone knows, and that's great, and everybody should. But in my opinion, there's nobody whose version touches my heart more than Judy Garland. Just that wistful sound in her voice. She's acting while she's singing, and that's not easy to do. Some people, you can sing and act, but you can't combine them, and she was one of those people who could do both, and it's just such a beautiful, beautiful song. And of course the other songs in the film, like We're Off to See the Wizard, and like you mentioned, Ding Dong the Witch is Dead and stuff like that. And it's been, it's obvious when something has that big of an impact that it's taken by other people and put their own spin on it, with everything from an African-American version like The Wiz, which is an excellent film, by the way. And also didn't make my list. I didn't think of it. Like Ease On Down the Road and Don't Nobody Bring Me No Bad News.
Although, in all fairness, the movie was kind of weird because Diana Ross playing Dorothy was just weird.
Yeah.
But other than that, the music was great.
Or even a revisionist look like Wicked, which has its own
which still has yet to come out as a film. It will be coming soon.
But you go back to the original, and there's just something so familiar about it. And familiar sometimes is good, So my number 6, The Wizard of Oz.
Maybe they should do a mashup of all three.
Ow. Oh, I think my brain just cramped. I don't really think how I get... Ow! That really hurt.
My number 5 is the other movie that was a straight movie before it was a musical movie. And I never really cared for the original film. I've seen parts of it. I never saw them. And there was just nothing about it which jumped out at me. But the movie musical, I knew was going to be huge because, well, they kept telling us it was going to be huge for about 6 months before it came out. And considering what it's based on, how you get this family-friendly musical out of something that comes from the demented mind of John Waters, I never can figure out. But now it's been a TV live. Newcomer Nikki Blonsky stars as Tracy Turnblad, a girl in 1960s Baltimore who basically integrates the entire town herself by the time it's all done. She wants to be on the Corny Collins show, a local dance show like American Bandstand. And they have a group of young dancers from high school that dance there every day. And once a month they have Negro Day with the black kids, which is back then was normal.
Yeah, they actually say that in the movie. And it was like, oh my God, did they just say that?
Well, that's because it was how they did it back then.
I know, but still, you were sitting there like, oh my God.
With a cast of amazing people supporting Blonsky, including John Travolta as her mother, Edna, which is that character has always been played by a man, and in hat tip to John Waters. Christopher Walken, who I never knew could sing, as her dad. What was his name?
Wilbur.
Wilbur. Zac Efron and Amanda Bynes leading the cast at school, and Michelle Pfeiffer as the producer of the Corny Collins show, and James Marsden in a wonderful, for once, not playing an asshole character, because normally he specializes in that kind of character. It's just it's one of those, that was one of the earliest movies that they did a sing-along version with. And we're sitting there in the front row near the end of we weren't in the front section of seats, but in the middle section, we were in the front row. And all of us were just tapping our feet, just like took everything we had not to get up and start dancing during We Can't Stop the Beat at the end of the film. Yeah. It was so much fun. Number 5, Hairspray.
Okay.
The musical version, of course.
Right. Number 5 on my list was a film that it was enough. Every once in a while, TC and I are usually in sync about films. I
didn't know they did any films.
No, yes, you did. You knew they were in one of the Star Wars prequels.
Oh, supposedly. Anyway.
Which I'm convinced is a sign of the upcoming apocalypse. But anyway. What I mean, dear, is usually when we see a film or hear about a film, we'll both be like, hey, that sounds great. Let's go see that or something like that. Not very often are one of us like, okay. Sometimes it happens, and the other one will say, you owe me. With this film, the first 5 minutes of this film, I turned and looked at TC and whispered to him, "You owe me." By the end of this film, I was falling all over myself saying, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry."
And bawling.
And saying, "You were right, this was amazing, I'm so sorry."
How was I right? I didn't know either. I was going on the basis of the reaction it had at Sundance.
My number 5 from 2007, the unbelievably, beautifully brilliant Once. Once is a story from Ireland about a guy named Guy in the film, we never know his name, who meets a girl who's just referred to as girl. Yay, simplicity. And they wind up becoming friends and partners, singing partners, through their mutual love of music. And this is not your typical Hollywood story. Thank you, God.
It's not your typical Irish story either.
But oh my God, the music from this film. Obviously, everybody knows about Falling Slowly because it won the 2000.
Because it was written and released before they even conceived the movie, and usually those are not qualified. Mm-hmm. I thought that was very odd.
It is... Falling Slowly is one of the most beautiful songs ever written in the history of ever. If I could pick a list of songs to be beamed out into outer space to show humans aren't all stupid, brutal savages, this would be one of the songs I would pick. Mm-hmm. And Freebird.
As long as it's the Will to Power version.
Shut up. The vocal combination of Glenn Hansard and Marketa Iglova, when their voices meld together when they sing, it is something that will stop your heart. It's so beautiful.
There's something kind of oogie about the fact that he was in his early 30s and she was 17 when they shot the movie.
Well,
but they still make great music together.
That's true.
She doesn't look 17.
She does not look 17. She carries herself with a maturity much, beyond those years.
She's playing older because she's got a kid already, and it's like
when she sings the song that she writes herself called "The Hill." I swore I don't think I breathed again until the song was done because I was just so focused on her. And Glenn, which is the one and only band I can think we can honestly both say that we are groupies of. I've never been.
We haven't been to see Glenn the last 4 times he's been in town because he's been without,
Yeah, but when it's the swell season, we're there,
yeah,
so
they're not performing together anymore.
No, I know, but it was actually weird being a groupie. I've never been a groupie before.
We went to see them 4 times in the span of 15 months, and it was just amazing. They're
bananas.
So good live. Glenn and his damn dog stories.
Yeah, it was so incredible seeing everywhere we saw them. It was just amazing, no matter where it was. But if you've never seen Once, shame on you. You need to go see it right now. I mean, stop this podcast and go watch it.
No, don't do that. Watch it
and
afterward.
And then come back and listen to some more.
No, watch it afterward.
My number 5, Once.
I do have it in my runners-up, yeah.
Once, which you will watch twice. So, your number 4?
My number 4 is another film that is not necessarily considered a musical by most people. I consider it a musical because it has 4 show-stopping numbers in the middle of the context of the film. Mm-hmm. And it is one of my all-time favorite comedies anyway. It just has this wonderful vibe mixed with terrific writing, fantastic cast, amazing location shooting, and just all in all, a fantastic story about a woman pretending to be a man, pretending to be a woman. My number 4 is Victor Victoria from 1982, 81, 82, somewhere in there, with Julie Andrews as Victoria, a down-on-her-luck singer who can't find work in 1920s Paris until she hooks up with Toddy, who has just been fired from his job as a performer at another club because he stuck up for her when she auditioned. Mm-hmm. into their lives comes King Marchand, a mobster on vacation from America, and all hell breaks loose. Featuring the terrific numbers like Late Jazz Hot, Shady Lady of Seville, and a bunch of other great stuff.
No, I would definitely consider that a musical.
I have never liked Julie Andrews better. She was magnificent. It was later turned into an even bigger musical on Broadway and around the country. It toured. I didn't do as well as the movie. And, well, even though Julie came back to play it for the first 6 months of its Broadway run, I adore Victoria. It's just one of my favorite movies. She and Robert Preston and James Garner and Alec Karras and Leslie Ann Warren have amazing chemistry. It's just this bedroom farce set in 20s Paris with music and great stuff. And if you've never seen it, you should.
The first time I ever heard of the play of Mamma Mia, I was like, what? And I was like, okay, I guess. When we saw the first trailer, I was like, Meryl Streep. Well, we knew Meryl Streep could sing because hadn't we already seen Prairie Home Companion by that? And
Prairie Home Companion came out the year before. Yeah.
So we knew she could sing. And
I never thought of that movie. Damn it, that's a musical too. Technically,
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Shoot. All right.
Okay, I was like, all right, this will be different, and it is a joy. It is an absolute joy. TC and I don't think it's unkind to say this, both grew up in the era when ABBA was.
I love ABBA. I didn't think you did. I love ABBA. I always have.
I like ABBA songs, but I would never admit that in front of certain people that we know because. Hi,
Stacy.
Because they would mock me.
Although Stacy loves them too.
Yes, that's because
she's the one that got us into this dancing.
That's because nobody's going to mock her. Not if they want to keep breathing and have all their fingers. They're not going to mock her. It's a wonderful story. It's just this story of love and finding yourself and finding out who you really are and who you really want to be. Pierce Brosnan
sucks.
Well, so much for ever getting him to do a...
No, he's a great actor, and I love him as an actor, but as a singer, he just sucks. He can't carry a tune.
I've heard worse.
Yeah, but not... I mean, the only thing that could have been worse in this film is if they'd cast William Shatner in the role. So, there you go. Oh, darling, when you hear me, come and see me. SOS. That's how Shatner would have done it. Anyway...
And he worries I burn too many bridges. Okay. The one song that I want to bring up, you mentioned all of the great songs, and they're just, so awesome.
I didn't really mention any of the songs, so if you want to, go ahead.
Well, there's the songs that Meryl and Christine and Julie sing together, because their characters used to be part of a singing group, so they sing together.
Right.
Amanda sings on her own, and she's just absolutely fantastic. She sings "I Have a Dream"
Amanda Seyfried,
by herself as Sophie. This one, I like this. I love the take on this. And is it really terrible that I'm like sitting there visualizing myself in this part?
No, because you would be so perfect in that role singing that song. It would be so funny to see.
Christine Baranski picks up and walks away with her part as Tanya Chesham Lee, who is one of Donna's friends and one of her former bandmates, who does this absolutely wonderful version of "Does Your Mama Know?"
Does your mother know?
Does your mother know? As she's singing this to this young man who is flirting with her, and she's like, "I'd eat you alive, son." That kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And she's this unrepentant cougar. I hope that doesn't offend you, Miss Baranski.
It's not her; it's her character.
I realize it. Well, considering the fact that I don't even consider myself a cougar anymore. That's way too 2010. I'm a saber-toothed tiger, bitches, and don't you forget it.
Oh, for Pete's sake, really?
But I loved this movie. I have to be perfectly honest. When we heard they were doing a sequel, I was like, yay? Maybe?
We'll wait and see.
And then I saw the trailer, and I was like, keep the smile on your face.
It's kind of become already known, if you haven't seen it. Meryl's in the movie, but her character has passed away.
We're pretty sure.
No, it's been confirmed.
It has.
So
okay.
it's an interesting idea. Anyway, go ahead. It's called Mamma Mia. Here we go again.
By the end of the trailer, I'm sitting there like, keep smiling. Just keep smiling. Oh, good God.
And it is coming out almost exactly on the 10th anniversary of the original film.
Oh, neat.
Yeah,
so it'll be fun, I hope. Oh, God, please. But my number 4, Mamma Mia. Great, wonderful, fun movie.
Oh, yeah, so that means Mamma Mia was 2008. I said 2009 earlier. So it was because it's coming out this summer and on almost the anniversary. So it's like interesting. My number 3 is the movie version of the show, which is my all-time favorite Broadway show. And the reason it's number 3 on my movie list is because the movie cut out some really important stuff that I felt needed to be there. I was really disappointed with the movie. And I'm like, okay, I still love it, but to me, when you cut out 3 of the most important things in the movie in the back half that help explain all of the stuff that goes on, it comes to an audience, and it's why it got only middling reviews from the critics. But the Broadway show is awesome. My number 3 is the film version of Rent from 2005 or 6. I don't remember which year it came out. Most of the original cast of the Broadway show was involved in the movie, including Anthony Rapp, Adam Pascal, Idina Menzel, Tracy Tom stepping into Daphne Ruben Vega's role as Joanne. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. Or was Daphne might have been Mimi, which Rosario Dawson stepped into. Sorry. A little bit confused. I Luther Creek as Mark and Adam Pascal as Roger. No. Sean Keller as Roger and Simone as Mimi. So, although she was off and I saw her understudy. But no question about it. Rent is the story of young 20-somethings hanging out in late 80s East Village, New York, and dealing with life, love, and AIDS. And it is an amazing story from Jonathan Larson. If you've never seen... the movie is fantastic if you've never seen the Broadway show. If you've seen the Broadway show, you know what's missing, and it's like, damn, I missed this. This should be part of it. Thankfully they did film them, and they are available as deleted scenes on the DVD, and a few people have put them together back into the movie where they're supposed to be. So, but there's this great solo from Mark called Halloween that it explains everything in the show up to that point. And Chris Columbus, the director, was like, it's not necessary. Cut it out and set it aside. I'm like, what? Awesome stuff. Awesome music. One of the best, if not the best Broadway show ever. And I'm just like, so ambivalent about the movie. As much as I love it, I would give it like an A or maybe a B+. And it is definitely on my, obviously where it is on my list, but because I enjoy the music and I enjoy the byplay, and Idina Menzel just walks off with everything as always. So, and Tracy Toms. It's terrific. So if you've never seen it, definitely watch it. Number 3, Rent. That was a very half-hearted endorsement of it, wasn't it? I'm sorry about that.
Well, no, that's all right.
Kim just bought me a book for my birthday in 2 months about Rent, and I was just looking through it, and it's like, oh, okay, that's cool.
This is how Kim buys birthday presents. Kim uses the Viking method: pillage, grab stuff when you can, and run with it.
Yeah,
I'm
trying not to say that I don't like the movie. I love it. Obviously, it's number 3 on my list, but I just have problems with it. But I still enjoy it.
Number 3 on my list is another film that you've already mentioned, the musical version of Hairspray. Absolutely loved the musical version of Hairspray. I love the original. John Waters is an acquired taste. I admit that. And if you don't acquire it, that's your fault.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's your problem, not mine. The musical version of Hairspray includes some incredible songs that are just absolutely fantastic. Welcome to the 60s is an amazing song. it's so telling because this film takes place in 1962, and Welcome to the 60s is talking about how the young generation being so hopeful for what the world is going to be like in the 60s and how things are going to change and we're going to affect that. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, if you people knew what was coming. 1963, also known as when the world started to go to hell, and with all the problems that happened in the 60s later on with all of the other, the whole issues with Vietnam and race riots and all that other, crazy stuff that happened, which I don't remember. There's just some really wonderful songs in this. I Can Hear the Bells is a great solo number for Nikki Blonsky. And I have to say one thing about Nikki, her turn as Tracy. This is just a personal message from me to Nikki. I don't know if she's ever going to hear this or not. Nikki, I wish when I was a young girl that there had been an actress like you that I could have seen on screen, because that would have inspired me to be like, I can do that. I can do that. Because she's doing that. And she's not what Hollywood says is perfect.
Well, neither was Ricki Lake, who originated the role in the original film. Yeah,
she's wonderful, and if she's wonderful, I can be wonderful too. She inspired a lot of people, and I know that I wish there had been someone like you around when I was a girl, because you inspired me too. But my favorite song from this film is "You're Timeless to Me," which is the duet between Wilbur and Edna, played by Christopher Walken and John Travolta. Obviously, in the original Hairspray, Edna was played by the late great Divine.
And in the original Broadway show by the always wonderful Harvey Firestein.
Yeah. I think it's a pity that Divine, I think it's a pity Divine left us.
Oh, he was way too young to pass away when he did. Yeah.
But it's a pity that he didn't make it to see this, because he would have been incredible.
Mm-hmm.
You're Timeless to Me is just such a warm, loving, from the heart song. It's two people that are like, we're old, we're bumpy, we're not perfect, but to me, you're everything. You're my everything.
It's a very sweet little bit in the film.
And to know that this is being sung by Christopher Walken,
and John Travolta. As husband and wife.
Just to hear this sweet, caring, loving song sung by Christopher effing Walken. No offense intended, Mr. Walken. I love you, but my gosh, you creep me out sometimes.
Yes, he does. He's very good
John
at that.
Travolta in drag in a fat suit. Okay. It's like...
And the scary thing is, he looks great.
He looks fantastic. At the end of the film, when you have this incredibly empowering song like You Can't Stop the Beat, which I was like, I want to jump up and sing.
Yeah, everybody
I want
was.
to jump up and sing. And he looks better than Michelle Pfeiffer. How do you do that? That's nuts. But so my number 3, absolutely one of the best musicals, Hairspray. Just stellar.
You do that because they were making her look dowdy, kind of, because she's the bad guy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, my number 2 is a song, a movie that she's talked about way too low on her list.
Oh, we're gonna go there.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Because, and wait till we get to number 1. It is just one of the most. I have not had that much fun at a movie in a long time, and not only was it brilliantly written, the last part of the Dublin trilogy from John Carney, which also included Once and Begin Again. Sing Street is just one of those kind of movies that will just make you jump up and start dancing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. The movie is hilariously funny. It's brilliantly poignant in some places, as Connor, played by the amazing young man named Ferdia Walsh-Pilo, who is now becoming known. You can find his music on Spotify as simply Ferdia, and he's also been in a few other things, including Vikings.
Yes.
He's an amazing performer, and I can't believe he was 15 when they did his partner. What was his name? Eamon. Are both terrific, and so are all the kids in the band, actually. But the the whole thing is it sets up Connor, who, when he's music going on, calls himself Cosmo, and his home life, which is kind of crazy with his parents splitting up, his older brother who can't seem to stop smoking hash, and the creeps that run the new Catholic school that he's forced to attend after. Wouldn't you call them that?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, this is another movie where I'm sitting there like going, yeah, thank you. Thanks for making Catholicism look great.
That's the way it was. And then the name of the movie is a take on the school's name. It's Sing Street School.
Between that and the Magdalene Laundries, Ireland's really effed up Catholicism.
It isn't just Drive It Like You Stole It, though. This movie is full of great original songs, most of which were written by Nick Laird-Close, who no, that's the other guy. I can't remember his name, I'm sorry. He was the leader of Danny Wilson, who had a big hit with Mary's Prayer back in the 80s. Wrote most of these songs. And
Gary Clark.
Thank you. And they're brilliant. In addition to Drive It Like You Stole It, I love To Find You, which Ferdia has a great solo version up on his YouTube channel. And the as goofy as it is from the lyrics and stuff, when you watch them do The Beautiful Sea in the movie, it's hysterical because of what happens. Also stars the wonderful Lucy Boynton in her first major role, and Jack Rayner as his older brother, his wizened older brother. Sing Street is just a delight you won't forget, and once you see it, you'll be watching it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And Ferdia and Mark have both made our Rising Stars list, and they deserve to be.
Yep.
Fantastic. Number 2, Sing Street. Number 9, really?
All right. Okay. Well, certain things have to go certain places. If it was up to me, everything would be number 1. But, unfortunately, life doesn't work that way.
Yep.
That's very close to participation trophy territory. And that,
participation award.
Yeah. that does not go over in this house. My number 2, again, film you've already mentioned.
Well, I'd mentioned most of the good ones.
This was a film that, when it came out, I was like, well, I can't avoid it now. Because up till the time that the film came out, TC was already a renthead. In case you couldn't tell from that diatribe earlier, TC is a renthead. For those of you who don't know what that means, a renthead is a person who is an enormous fan of the Broadway show Rent. It's like being a, deadhead or a...
I will give her credit. Since we saw the movie, she's been to see the play with me.
Yeah. It's like the Grateful Dead fans are called deadheads and fans of Harry Potter are called oh no, they're not. I still think potheads is funnier, but...
I know, but Joanne wouldn't like it. Anyway, go on, I'm sorry.
For the longest time, I resisted going to see the play Rent, because I was like, I'm trying, I will, and I don't want to deal with the emotional burden of it. When the movie came out, I was like, well, I know what's going to happen now. And it happened. And we went to see it, and I bawled through the entire thing. And it changed my heart. The movie Rent is my number 2 on my list of favorite musicals. The story of a group of young people in 1989 in New York City, living and loving and dying in the shadow of AIDS, is so unbearably moving, and not in a schmaltzy playing with your emotions way. It's not manipulative. You feel for these characters. You care for these characters. And when they're hurting, you're hurting. I'm choking up.
She's starting in just from the description. That's really something.
The scene, spoiler alert, the eulogy that the characters give when one of the characters, a young man named Angel, passes away.
You never knew he could sing, which I thought was really funny.
When Jesse L. Martin as Tom Collins, who was Angel's lover,
and who originated the role on Broadway, also,
who I knew from Law and Order, which I was like, what the hell?
And now he's Joe
West
on Flash.
On the Flash.
Yeah.
When he's singing "Live in My House" in the eulogy,
you're just gonna continue to just.
I'm sorry.
She's getting all verklempt over here.
No, I am. I mean, because
There's my fan out. Like, come over and fan you, honey.
there is just so much emotion,
Mm-hmm.
and it just kills you.
Yeah. It does.
As a human being, it
rips to your soul.
It wounds you. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much
That's a perfect
going.
example, though. That's why Halloween is important. It's right after that in the play, and it's like, wait a minute. You've lost the entire meaning of angels passing by losing that song. Are you an idiot? All right, so
The
anyway.
way it was done, it didn't feel that way to me, but I hadn't seen the play
You hadn't seen
yet,
the play yet.
So,
yeah.
everyone is so incredible, obviously because they've done these roles before. Anthony Rapp, Adam Pearce, Jesse L. Martin, Rosario...
Adam Pascal,
I'm sorry. Adam Pascal and Rosario Dawson as Mimi. I know up till that point she'd been discovered in Kids and, had done other things, but I was like, wow. She just blew my mind. She was so incredible.
And then later that summer, she starred in Clerks 2. Isn't that scary?
I know. And the whole thing at the end with Your Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, don't listen to that song on the train. Actually, don't listen to the soundtrack to Rent on the train, because that's a bad idea.
I used to listen to the soundtrack to Rent on the bus all the time. I am not the way that you are, although I get that way about certain points in it when I'm not in public.
Yeah, well...
It's not quite Christmas shoes, but you get there.
No, but see, my problem is I had a point in my life when I didn't show my emotions and wound up with a lot of problems. Mm-hmm. So now I'm the other way, and if I feel like crying, I cry. And so when we get to the end of Rent...
She's always crying on the train.
It is such a... If you see this movie, and you will see the play after you see the movie, because you just will...
You have to.
It will touch you. It will touch your soul. It will change you. It will change you. My number 2, Rent.
Just as a quick caveat, Rent, filmed live on Broadway, was done one of the last shows that they did of its first run, and is available on Netflix. They're both fantastic. You can see the Broadway version because it's in the Broadway setting. It's a little bit different than the movie, and they're both spectacular with the performances and everything. So, although nobody from the original cast is in that one, but it's great. So my number 1 was on your runner-up list. What the hell? Really?
You have to know what my number 1 is.
No.
Okay.
Not really.
All right. No,
am I going to think I'm an idiot?
Keep going with yours.
My number 1 is just one of the most fun musicals of all time. If you grew up in the 70s, you were there. It was one of the biggest hits of 1978. It was part of the summer of 1978. That's magical summer, which brought us some of the greatest music of the 70s and some of the greatest movies of the 70s and some of the greatest everything of all time. I don't know why I have such a fondness for the summer of 78. I didn't really... I lived in a small town in Washington State. I was between my sophomore and junior year? No, freshman and sophomore year in high school. And I was like, what is so great about this back then? But now I look back and I'm like, wow, the summer of 78 was magic. Yeah, it had a few blemishes like Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, but it had a lot of other great stuff too, including the biggest grossing movie musical of all time. Number 1, Grease. John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John, unbelievable performances based on the 1970s, early 70s Broadway show, and done a lot better than the Broadway version from what I've heard. In fact, it was so popular, now the Broadway version includes the songs that the Bee Gees wrote for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's what they did with Cabaret. They had songs especially for Liza Minnelli in the movie music.
They have, it's set in the 1950s at Rydell High School, 1959, I believe. In Rydell High School in the senior year of the T-Birds and the Pink Ladies, and how it happens in this particular one, when Danny, who calls from Australia, played by 30-year-old Olivia Newton-John, and we go from there when they're all supposed to be.
Teenage John Travolta.
I know, and teenage Stockard Channing, 33. Anyway, it's so much fun. Some of the great music numbers of all time, including ones that were originally in the show, like Summer Nights and Sandy, and stuff that was written originally for the movie, like the title theme opening from Frankie Valli and You're the One That I Want, which was a monster hit for John and Olivia. It's just awesome! They've done a great version on Fox's first live musical was a great version of Grease. If you haven't seen it, it's out on DVD and worth seeing, and incorporates all the songs from both groups, and it's a lot of fun. But it's my all-time favorite movie musical. What can I say?
Okay.
It's just a lot of fun. Caveat: avoid the sequel at all costs. Number 1, Grease.
Okay. Number 1 on my...
Oh, yeah, I do know what yours is now, yeah.
You do
it's on
now.
my runner-up list, yeah.
My number 1 favorite movie musical, I mentioned when I was talking about Rent, how Rent will change you. This musical changed me.
Is it fair to say that the change is a different sort of change? Because Rent is a voyage of awareness, whereas the film you're about to talk about is more of a voyage of personal discovery.
Yeah, I would say
that.
Yeah,
All right.
My number 1 favorite movie musical is the Rocky Horror Picture Show from 1975. The sci-fi sex farce, I don't know how else to call it.
Yeah, that's about right.
About extraterrestrials from the planet Transsexual in the galaxy of Transylvania. No, I'm not making any of this up. And
you can hear the song. It's just part of the song.
And they're meeting with a all-American couple, Brad and Janet. Brings an entirely new meaning to the term close encounter.
I'm amazed she actually got past the name Brad without yelling the word asshole.
Well, thank you. I'm trying to show self-restraint and show, look how mature I can be.
When you talk Rocky Horror, you rarely show any self-restraint.
That's the
This
point.
is the problem of her being addicted to the audience participation part of that. Anyway.
That's my point, though, is the fact that was and, you know, some people might even know Science Fiction Double Feature or Touch Me or something like that, which are all fantastic songs. But for me, the song that reached out and went like this, like tapped me on the shoulder and went, hey, listen, this is important. You need to listen to the words of this song because they're important, is a song called Don't Dream It, Be It. And when I heard that song for the first time, I didn't even hear it on from a movie coming on a screen. I had all the soundtracks and stuff back in high school before I could even see Rocky Horror on the big screen because there was no way in hell my parents were letting me out of the house after midnight, going into Boston with my psychotic friends.
Boston, hell, you had to go Cambridge for that.
Yeah.
Which is even worse when you really think about it, although it's closer. It's kind of, you're being a college town at midnight. I don't know. That's not a good idea.
Yeah. It was just the whole idea, don't dream it, be it, And it's not even a big song. It's just that's the whole song. It's just, that's the song itself. And it was something inside me that went, you know what? Yes. This is the person you want to be. Stop trying to be the person that everybody else wants you to be. Be the person you want to be. Be the person that when you get up in the morning and you go to bed at night, you look at that person in the mirror and you go, I like them. They're a person I want to hang out with because they stick up for who they are and they have their beliefs and they are fine with their beliefs and everybody else's beliefs. And they express themselves and they're just who they are. And if the rest of the world doesn't like it, screw them. So that's why the Rocky Horror Show is my favorite movie musical, because it made me realize that, you know what? I'm not normal. And you know what? I am totally fine with that. And if the rest of the world doesn't like it, they can look the other effing way.
Can you explain the T-shirt thing?
When I was in high school, as I mentioned previously, I became a wrestling fan, and I would go to a lot of wrestling shows at the Garden by myself, which now I look back on that and go, that was not the most safe thing to do in the world, probably, but there was a place at one of the local malls that you could actually have T-shirts printed up for, just for you, not like a team or anything like that. So I went in there one day and I said, you know what, I want this on a T-shirt, and I told them what I wanted, and I had a very nice T-shirt, Robin's Egg Blue T-shirt, with black lettering on it, and it's a pretty nice font, and it said, "Don't dream it, be it." And I used to wear that shirt all the time, and people would see it, and they'd go, well, what does that mean? And I'd say, well, what does it say? And they'd be like, they'd read it, and I'd go, yep. And they'd go, well, what does it mean? And I'd be thinking to myself, it means I'm leaving. Because you're an idiot. If you can't figure that out, I am not having a conversation with you. Goodbye.
I gotta be honest, I enjoyed the film every now and then. I'm not the addict that my generation became, because I saw Rocky Horror for the first time the week I moved up here. Mm-hmm. Kim had the video, and my friend Chris and I had never seen it, and I've always loved certain songs because I was exposed to them from Dr. Demento. I even won a T-shirt from Dr. Demento for requesting the Time Warp once. But I've never been that enamored with it, but it is an enjoyable thing every now and then, just to watch it and see how crazy it was.
This song just made me realize, the musical, I should say, the musical made me realize, it's okay to be weird. And mm-hmm. if you're a freak and you have a freak flag, fly it, wave it, display it, wrap yourself in it if you want to. If it makes you happy and it's not hurting anybody else, go for it. Make me happy. That's the thing about musicals that I think are important, is that they make mm-hmm. you happy.
Yep.
I
think so.
So.
All right, let's recap. My top 10 were, top 10 movie musicals of all time were, number 10, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, number 9, The Wizard of Oz, number 8, Mamma Mia, number 7, The Producers, number 6, Passione, seek it out, trust me, number 5, Hairspray, number 4, Victor, the musical version, not the non-musical version, which also could be considered a musical technically.
Yeah.
Number 4, Victor Victoria, number 3, Rent, number 2, Sing Street, and number 1, Grease.
Okay. And my top 10, Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street, Sing Street, Cabaret, The Producers, the musical, obviously, The Wizard of Oz, Once, Mamma Mia, Hairspray, the musical, Rent, and The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
These were interesting lists.
I think they were really cool.
Yeah.
I really thought Rent was going to be your number 1, because I know how much it means to you, but I also know you do have problems with the...
I have problems with the movie version that irritate me.
Yeah.
I still like it, but it irritates me. So, next time, my choice.
Yes.
And we're going to go back to music. I always do music, and I thought this would be fun to kick off the year. How many people know the joke about Glass Tiger?
Me, I do.
Yeah. Do you guys know what the joke is about Glass Tiger? Glass Tiger had a hit called Don't Forget Me, and then everybody did.
Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone. And we all did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our top 10 forgotten musical acts of the 1980s.
Oh, this is going to turn
This is going to have a lot of heavy metal stuff on Kim's list.
This is going to turn into the bands Kim wanted to sleep with list.
Well, that's what Mom, triggered it. I see your tape for Leatherwolf up here.
Mom, please don't listen to this show.
Don't forget that we definitely are having lots of fun every week with all kinds of different podcasts. There's K-Babble with Eric and Valerie. Last show was an all K-Babble Eats Odd Things show. Lots of great stuff from them.
Question, do they have cloisters in Missouri?
I imagine. There's cloisters everywhere.
Right.
And Comic Grotto with Aunt B and Pee-wee, one of the fastest growing shows ever. Comics and movies and TV stuff that's connected to comics, and they have a lot of fun with that. New shows up on the weekends. Kim has a brand new show premiering next week about wrestling called Ring Around the Rosie.
Yep.
She's been around and around the wrestling world for many, many years.
I was gonna say, could you word that a little better, please? I think I've just been insulted, but I'm not entirely sure how.
In your tenure as a wrestling fan, you've run around that ring hundreds of times.
Yep, I've seen a lot.
And so it'll be fun to hear what she has to say. Ring Around the Rosie premieres day and date this Wednesday, which I believe is the 18th. It's the 17th. 17th, you're right. I was like, I don't know the dates wrong. Catastrophe Vortex returns with its new format on Monday, Martin Luther King Day, which is an odd day to choose. I pushed it back a week and realized, oh no, but I can't delay it anymore. So it'll be up this coming Monday with its new format and a lot of stuff over at catastrophevortex.com. And of course, we have our flagship shows. Platinum's Garden with Kim will be back next week with
I will be back.
Supernatural.
Yes, Platinum Rose's Garden is my Supernatural podcast where I talk about that week's episode. We are over the winter holiday, and I will be back with my look at the newest episode of Supernatural, Wayward Sisters. So I hope you will come check that out.
Which is the spinoff for the pilot for the spinoff that will premiere this fall.
For Wayward Sisters.
Because they already greenlit that, did they not?
I believe they have. Yes, so that's going to be super exciting.
Don't forget, we also have our main show, in addition to Front Row 5 and 10, and that's Subject Cinema every Sunday evening around 7:30, 8-ish if we're late doing stuff. Movie reviews, plus everything about the entertainment industry. If you want info on DVDs and on-demand streaming, join us for Tuesday Digitex on Tuesday, and on Fridays, all the latest about all the little films coming out, as well as the blockbusters on 3 Minute Weekend every Friday. And those can also be found at ecinema1.com. Now, before we go, I want to mention number one, if you listen to our show, any of our shows, please make sure you like them where you listen to them, share them from where you're listening to them, and if there's a notification, so you know it's coming up. Also, don't forget to Patreon us. We are doing a lot of new things this year, and we're running a Patreon campaign, and we're going to soon have it so you can do one-time donations as well as ongoing donations. And we would really appreciate it because we have so much we'd like to do for you this year, but we really can't afford to do it without your help. So we hope you'll come that way.
Yep.
You look like you wanted to say something.
No,
I have one more thing to say.
No, didn't have anything else to say, really.
This coming week, as you're listening to this, when it goes up on January 13th, this Monday on our YouTube channel, exclusively to our YouTube channel, we will be releasing the trailer for a new project which will debut late next week. It is something that has brought the entire PNRNetworks family together and to do it, and it is... I'm finishing the editing right now, and I am so impressed with all of the hard work that Anthony and Matt over at Comic Grotto and Eric and Valerie and Courtney put in from K-Babel, and our own work and a few other things too. And I'm so impressed with it, and I hope you guys will like it. You will hear more news about it on Subject Cinema this week and the trailer on Monday, January 15th. So be sure to be watching for that.
I'm Kim Brown.
I'm T.C. Kirkham.
And we hope we can count on you next week to come by and help us count them up here on Front Row 5 and 10.
Bye!
Bye!
You've been listening to Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and T.C. Kirkham.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.